Where could this creature have gone? You know, maybe it was a leopard that was snacking on something here and some hyena came in and chased it off. Or who knows, maybe it was a hyena that stumbled upon an easy meal. Vesper, you suggesting that it could be a hare that was consumed there. I'm tending to agree with you. I don't know why, though, because we just saw that one tiny piece of fur. It could be a hare, a duiker, a steenbok. Definitely something furry, though. At least we know that. Okay. Well, no further tracks coming down this little pathway here. So let me head back with Rex, do a little bit more investigating of this crime scene, and hopefully we're going to have some good news as to who made the kill and what happened. For the meantime, though, back to the Mara with Jamie.
Interesting. A mystery from Scott Dyson. I do apologize for our extended disappearance. We had a few gremlins attacking us, but we seem to be okay. Well, let me just move out of the way of this car. So we found Malaika, thanks to the help of Paul Karoy, who we were working with. He was one of the other guides here. Off you go. So we found her. The bad news is that she really on all side of double crossing, and I don't know where she's actually been here for.
Oh dear, it seems like there are a few gremlins in the Mara this morning. Now, we've checked the sort of southern area, and we've now come down and we're on the high ground above the Posey Plain, which is lying down off to our left here. And if the boys aren't off to the right, or they could be, but maybe we missed them, there's a strong possibility, because of the amount of animals on the Posey Plain, that they decided to go down there. They don't go down there too often. It's very close, it is at the boundary of the park, and there's quite a lot of villages just on the other side of the Talek River. But they have been known to venture down there every now and then. Now, we got lucky yesterday after drive about where the boys were. So I'm hoping we get lucky during drive this morning. Okay, well, we're going to keep on frantically searching for the 5 boys. Let's go back to some big kitty cats back in South Africa with Noah.
Jamie and Brent, I'm wishing you luck in finding those cheetahs so that we can carry on with our, frog in my throat, with our Feline Friday. And hopefully we will also get some leopard luck either in the Mara or down here in Djuma. So crossing fingers and holding thumbs for the two of you up there, and for Scott and James on Djuma to carry on with leopard search, hopefully. Now, our lions have not moved since the last time you were here. We're still waiting patiently to be able to bring you the action that is a mating pair of lions. But unfortunately, it looks as if they have different plans that don't include doing anything other than having a nice big rest. So lions. Lions are one of the big 5. The big 5 include lion, as we said, leopard, buffalo, rhino, and elephant. We do have all of the big 5 here where we're traversing in South Africa, as well as up in the Mara. And then you have something called the Magnificent 7, which is the big 5 plus wild dog and cheetah. We have a harder time on the property that we're on now seeing cheetah, and more of a chance of seeing wild dog, as opposed to where the guys are up in the Mara. They have more of a chance of seeing cheetah and less of a chance of seeing wild dog. The wild dog numbers in the Mara are very low. I worked up there in 2010, and we had one wild dog sighting. It was a wild dog that ran through our staff camp, and everyone was super excited. It was the first wild dog they'd seen in the conservancy in, I want to say something silly like 10 or 15 years at that point. Other places where I've worked as well, up in South Luanga, the wild dog sightings have been very intermittent. Recently, in the past year or so, a pack has sort of settled down and become resident there. So here in the Sabi Sands, we're a lot luckier. Although the numbers are not huge, we still have quite a few. Now, our lion numbers are nice and healthy and steady. As you know, we don't always see lions here on our traverse, but in the sands in general, lions are around. And there are some big prides and coalitions of lions. One of the coalitions of male lions that I wish I had gotten a chance to see back in the day was the Mapojos, who were 7 in number and were absolutely insane with their behavior. Their testosterone levels were crazy. They would kill other lions, and not only would they kill other lions, they would eat them, which was the odd part. And they sired many cubs, but their prides had a tendency to only go for buffalo, and buffalo there had a lot of TB, and so the TB actually limited the amount of offspring that carried on in number further into the future, although there's still some remnants there. Now, Nikki, I'm so sorry, I only got part of that question coming through. If you wouldn't be mind. Mr. Q-Tip, you're asking, why is the hippo not included in the Big Five? Mr. Q-Tip, the Big Five historically comes from big game hunting, so they are the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt. Nowadays, there's still hunting safaris that happen, but nowadays a lot of the safaris are photographic safaris, or safaris where you're not shooting an animal, you're just viewing an animal. And so they've become the 5 most elusive or charismatic creatures to see. But because historically it was from a hunting genre, the hippo spends so much time in water. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So that is why they're not included in there. Now, hippos are known as one of the largest land mammals in Africa to kill the most humans. But the reason why that happens has more to do with how humans interact in their sphere as opposed to what hippos are doing. So in general, a hippo's safe space is the water, and they come out of the water early evening and go out and graze, and then they come back into the water early morning. Now, when you have humans that are living near some of these water bodies, rivers included, that is the same place where those humans go to fetch water for drinking and for bathing and also for washing. And so if you're in between a hippo and a safe area, which might be that river, a hippo's general tendency is to run at you with his huge jaws to get back into the water, and his jaws are strong enough to crack a crocodile in half, and so that's where the danger part of a hippo comes from. But in general, because they tend to be more in the water, it's not. That's why they're not included in the Big Five. Now, I've had a hippo porpoise over the bow of a boat when I was in the Delta. I have friends that have worked on the Zambezi River in Zambia who have had issues with hippo as they bring a boat into a territorial area. So there are other circumstances and other scenarios in which hippos can be dangerous, but the reason why they're not in the Big Five has to do with the old school hunting fraternity and where the original name for the Big Five came in. So again, long-winded, so sorry, but I hope that answers your question for you. And we still have no movement from our very lazy lions. Not even a head twitch. All right, now I'm hoping that Jamie's signal has become a little bit more stable because she has a wonderful surprise for you all the way up in the Masai Mara with one of the cats that we've been hoping to see this morning. So let's head on up to her, crossing fingers, holding thumbs.
Not a member of the Big Five, but magnificent nevertheless, and it seems as though our signal is okay-ish where we are. So Malaika has decided to make some decisions that will certainly change the way that the next few days go, but we have caught up with her and her 2 lovely young boys. So she's all the way, oh goodness, about as far as we could get from pretty much anywhere. It's going to be an interesting few days, hey girl? Where are you going to take us by Sunday night? Where are we going to wind up? It's going to be an interesting one. Nevertheless, we have caught up with her. She is in completely the opposite direction of where she was, or the direction that she was heading in when we left her last night, which just goes to show that the movements of these cheetah are completely unpredictable, which is why it takes us so long to find them if we leave them for more than a few minutes at a time. Feels like you turn your back and they've vanished. And often in the most unexpected of places. So she's gone in the opposite direction, back across one of the big rivers, And just because I said to Adrian this morning I don't think she's going to sleep that close to a river, she's sleeping close to a river. My thinking, having watched her over the past few nights, or whenever we've spent time with her, is that she sleeps out in the open, away from places where she could be stalked by lions or leopards. But apparently she doesn't even know her own rules. Tisk. It's a pleasure, by the way. We had to put in the hard yards to find her this morning, quite literally. And we've crossed double crossing now. How many times? 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. It will be 4 by the end of the morning. So Pucka's been working hard as well. By the way, Pucka is the vehicle that we are on. It begins with a P and means cat, appropriately. I think the name was Plains Risk or Plains Wrist. I'm not 100% sure, and I apologize if I've got your name wrong, because I do believe that you are a new viewer who is wondering what if they attacked us. And the answer is Plains Wrist. Okay, but the answer to that is that there is absolutely no way that these cheetah are going to attack us. It is 99.99999% certain. So cheetah are the smallest of the big cats, but it doesn't actually matter whether they were lions or leopards or the cheetah that they are. All of the animals around here have grown up with safari vehicles since they were very small. They don't see us as a source of food, and they don't see us as a threat. So there are very few cases where a cat has actually jumped into the car with a person with the intent of injuring them. Malaika's actually famous for jumping on cars, but that's because she's been taught very bad habits, and it's not because she's trying to attack anyone, it's because she's trying to gain some higher ground, a better vantage point. Now that's not something that we allow, although one of her boys nearly pulled a sneaky maneuver on me the other night. I was busy sitting watching Malaika, looking at where she was going, and the next thing I hear Adrian go, 12 o'clock, and one of her boys was about to put his feet on the front of our car. He was right up against us. And he didn't even listen to me when I shouted at him. I actually had to start the engine in the end to discourage him from jumping on. But that is not that they're going to attack us. I know 2 people who've been attacked by a cheetah, both of whom are absolutely fine, and it was a completely freak situation. Out here, we are safer than people who live in big cities seeing these animals. They do not intend us any harm. Number 3 is down and to the left somewhere in those bushes, I think. So we've got 2, and I think number 3 is somewhere to the left. If you keep going left. Okay, well, there's no cheetah there. There is a cheetah somewhere in those bushes, though. Most definitely, somewhere in there. I think, if we go a little bit to the right, there? I don't know. Now, Waffles is wondering, continuing our conversation, big cats, if big cats are common in highly populated areas, and if so, are they likely to attack people? This area that we're in the Mara, there are no fences between the villages and the animals. There are cases of human and wildlife conflict, as there would be in any situation like that, but most of the time the big cats know to stay away from the human settlements. However, there are occasional situations where they do go in, usually to hunt cows or goats or sheep rather than people. So the number of attacks, of animal attacks from cats on people is very, very low. But of course the highest risk group is kids, is children that run around, because a big cat looks at a child very differently to the way that they look at an adult. But it's an unusual thing. The most common big cat that you'll find in human settlements, even in big cities like Pretoria in South Africa or Johannesburg, is a leopard, because they are very adaptable creatures, but they are so shy that people don't even realize that they're there. So it's almost unheard of for somebody to see a leopard in the big city, even though they're there. Occasionally denning in certain places. I know I've heard a story of a leopard in an abandoned apartment, that's quite hard to say, abandoned apartment building in Pretoria. So it does happen, but it's very unusual, and the chances of them attacking are slim indeed. Yes, there are certain situations where an injured or a really hungry animal becomes far more dangerous to people. And there's a couple of very basic preventative measures that the people in this area have taken to avoid that. The cows go into bomas at night, or sort of enclosed areas with lots of thorns. Jonathan, when is Malaika going to leave her two sons on a completely different tack? Soon, I imagine, and it's a question of whether or not it's not so much she leaves them or they leave her. I think what's going to happen quite soon is that Malaika will probably come back into estrus or into heat. It'll be time for her to mate, and during that process, however it may happen, whether she manages to ditch them or they leave her, or perhaps they're actually kicked out by the males that are coming in to mate with her. There we go. So, Carol, you're wondering if Malaika has been in estrus since the boys were born. Not as far as I know. Usually, most big cats will take about a year and a half to 2 years from the birth of their cubs until they come back into estrus or into heat again. Sometimes it's different with individuals. We've seen a difference with Shadow, for example, in South Africa, the leopard. She tends to come back into estrus quite quickly after she's had a cub. That's been our general experience with her. So Malaika is due soon. The boys were born in June 2016, which makes them just over a year and a half. It's coming soon. The biggest transition of their lives, most likely, actually. The biggest wrench. And where they end up from there then won't be big enough to compete with for a territory. They will be wandering about, searching, hoping to avoid larger males. And chances are if Malaika goes into estrus around here, okay, that's changed things a little bit. She's no longer in the area with the 5 males. But if she moves back down south, that's most likely who we're going to find her mating with, if we find her mating with anyone. It's a difficult thing trying to find cheetah mating. Very few people ever get to see that in their lives. I wonder what they've eaten since I last saw them. Last time I saw them, they were starving. They're so hungry. I hope they've eaten something. Okay, well, since we've worked so hard to find her, we're going to sit here patiently with Malaika to see what she gets up to. Let's go and join James, who has found one of my favorite creatures out there.
It is an elephant, and this one is looking at you. He's giving you what can only be described as the evil eye. Well, I don't think it's very evil, really. Isn't he nice? Gorgeous looking young bull. Now, let me just shift slightly. I think I've seen a few elephants today, none of which have wanted to spend any time with us. Try and make this easy for Sabi. Now, you will notice that he is, shall we say, displaying between his back legs. And I must confess, I've always been very uncomfortable watching an elephant walk like that. Not for any reasons of bashfulness, but simply because if he catches what he's got between his legs on a thorn, I cannot imagine anything more utterly, detestably painful. The youngster who's now hiding behind a bush, he thinks he's impossible to see. Keep going backwards, it's quite fun. I think there was a question there from Barnana about whether elephants have teeth. Is that correct? Elephants do have teeth. You're looking at two of them now. Those are the incisor teeth, the tusks. And so if your two front teeth were to grow outlandishly large, well, they'd come out of your mouth and eventually they'd look like this elephant's tusks. They've also got molars, and they've got one or two sets on top and bottom jaw. And if they've got two, it means that they're being replaced from behind by another set, and they get 7 sets of teeth of those molars throughout their lives. They're like a huge sort of plate. I mean, eventually, in a big bull, they can be 3/4 of a foot long. So, I mean, they can be, 3/4 of a foot is 10 inches. Is it? No, it can't be. 9 inches. They can be 9 inches long, the big molars in a big bull. We're going to leave him going into the bush there, mainly because I cannot drive backwards any further. I'm going to get a crick in my neck. Let's carry on to Treehouse Waterhole and see what's going on there. Well, quite a nice little elephant sighting we had. No, I didn't. Gemma, that's very interesting. You say, did I hear about the 2 hippos that were hit by lightning in the Londolozi Dam? I had no idea about that. My friend is the general manager of Londolozi, and I might get hold of him today and actually find out about that. We did have a tremendous lightning storm recently, and so I suspect that's when it was. I will find out. Any information that you guys can give would be wonderful. There are a lot of dwarf mongooses there. You know what? I think that this is a perfect opportunity for Ronald. Ronald? I think we're going to deploy you to the dwarf mongoose. They are unlikely to mete out terrible punishment on you like so many of the other creatures we've involved you with. Might be quite fun, actually. All right, well, while we do that, let's go across to Scott Dyson, who is still on his own 2 feet, and he'd like to tell you what he's found.
We have found a puddle of water, and that is about all. All I know about the lightning strike and those 2 hippos is that I'm guessing it's the same storm that frizzled the Dyker close to camp, and that one of the Birmingham males was seen feeding on one or both of those hippos at some point in time, along with some of the local lioness of Londolozi and some hyena. But isn't it fascinating? 2 hippos in one strike. Wouldn't that be something incredible to witness? So we've had no further joy working out what happened at that crime scene a little bit further back. If any of you have just kind of joined us, we came across a few fragments and shards of bone. It was very fresh. We're not too sure what actually managed to make the kill. We saw some bird droppings nearby, but we're not sure if the bird responded to the kind of leftovers, a bird like a bataleur, a scavenger. So we're not too sure exactly what happened. There were some hyena tracks in the area, so could have been an owl that made the kill. All that we're confident of is that it was probably a scrub hare. Very good. Well done to Jamie on finally finding Malaika. I hope she's not doing her usual sleepy morning ritual and that she's up and about. Why don't you go and see what's happening back in Kenya?
We know how much Malaika and her 2 boys enjoy a good scrub hare. We had the most amazing sighting once with her, where she caught the scrub hare, and for once she was not in the mood to share it. She was hungry, she was tired, and her boys just wanted to grab it from her. And she just would not let them, until eventually she was forced to part with half of her scrub hare because it, parted ways with itself. And they managed to split off a bit and steal it. And Malaika definitely enjoys a good scrub here. You know, I've been thinking about that lightning thing with the poor hippos and then the duiker. And I actually once found 10 impala carcasses all under a tree that had got struck by lightning. So it does happen to animals out here. It's rare, but it does happen, and it is really scary, which is why we get very nervous and jumpy when there's lightning around us and immediately power down our broadcast equipment. It's all fine and well us having rubber tires on the road, but we're not in any way in a closed vehicle, and we do have a lightning conductor fitted to the top of our car. So it's something that, well, I can't speak for anybody else, but it does make me very jumpy. We have, however, seen the most amazing things after a big storm. Like these two boys this boy and his brother, playing in the river that was once a road. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was so dog-like in the way that they were chasing the ripples of the water, backwards and forwards, water spraying everywhere. They were just having so much fun. You could see the joy in what they were doing. It's probably it's probably the best cheetah sighting I've ever had. Even though we were viewing it through a tiny gap in our vehicle tent. He looks like he's eaten something. Something small, but he looks like he's eaten. Here we go. Okay, so our cheetah have been very good at getting quite a low perspective of things while they lie down on the ground here. Let's go and join Ronald for an entirely different type of view.
Now,
Here we go.
I don't know how it turned off. Sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, Ronald has managed to get himself to within a few feet of this termite mound, and one of the mongoose is very interested in him. You can see his view. Now, I think we should actually spend more time doing this sort of thing around dwarf mongoose, because what I think you'll find is that they'll habituate to him completely. There's one now at the other side. It's probably the same one. It's just popped out a different hole to get a different perspective. I mean, I suppose what we should do is just patiently sit here and let them see if they come out and investigate him. When it would be very tempted to put something that they might like to eat on him, but that would be baiting. And I think that would be crossing a line that we absolutely don't want to. They're so sweet, these little dwarf mongoose. No, back out the other hole now. Still only one of them. One of them scuttled to another temporary den round the other side. And I can just every so often hear them communicating with their little sort of swizzling calls. I'll tell you what, let's let him do a little turn around, get them used to him. Okay, I believe that Noel's lions are up. Let's go and find out what they're doing.
This Birmingham male is now tired of waiting around, so he is trying to initiate contact with this female. Now, usually it's the female that initiates any sort of proceedings, but this might just work, and of course they're going to go directly behind us. Sorry everyone, I am going to try and move the vehicle as best as I can to get around so that we can see, and of course they're going into the thick bushes. Everyone, this is not our day for watching these lions mate. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to do the best that I can. There, we've got a small gap. There we go. And all of that waiting for about 20 seconds. Not much aggression. There she's rolling on her back, letting gravity do the work. And he's down. Quick and to the point. to say the least. All right, everybody, they're going to be lazy now again for quite some time. So I think it's not the best view of a mating that we've ever had, but it's still a wonderful view of a mating. It's still a spectacular scenario. So I think let's head back onto James with the rover, and we're going to carry on and see what else we can find.
Well, old Ronald got one more view of a mongoose, I'm afraid, but then it skedaddled away. So I think we were just slightly too late here. I think it would have been better if we'd arrived earlier. Oops. It would have been better if we'd arrived earlier, and then when they were just doing their sort of morning constitutionals, we may have got slightly more luck. I think we should come back to this den site with old Ron. There we are. Come on, Ron. Back to the car you come. Well done, Ronald. Oh, no, hang on. There's a mongoose coming back the way. Let's just turn him round. Ronald, come, hurry up, move. Ronald is very slow. Now, one doesn't like to ask our Russian for too much, but if he was to improve Ronald, I would suggest that speed would be one of Ronald's greatest faults. He really is not very fast. Okay, we should have a view soon of the mongoose. Come on, Ron. Over that little stick. There we go. I'm sure this is exactly the same mongoose who's come to look at him every time. Come on, come and say hello. I left a camera once in fact, Scott did the same. We did it on the same day. We left cameras at mongoose dens and then walked away. And after a while, they just carried on with their business. They went all the way around them, got very close to them. It was very cool. Let's just sneak a little bit closer. Yes, making a little alarm call now. Oh, hang on. Wait. I think the thing that disturbs animals the most about Ronald is the noise he makes. Not only is he very slow, but he does make a noise. Well, there should be they're obviously still in there.
Yeah, at the top.
In that little hole.
The top there.
Are they on the top? Oh, yes. Very top. Ronald is now too close. He can't even see the one at the top. Let's see if we can't just get one of them to stick their noses out. No, they don't want to stick their heads out. They know he's too close to that hole. Let me back him off slightly. Back off, Ron. All right. I think we'll probably just carry on here for a little while. There, they put his head up again. But while we wait and see if they habituate, let's go back to Jamie, to an now active Malaika.
What a pity. It would have been amazing to see the mongoose out and about. Well, we've got our cheetah up and moving, or at least just moving to a different patch of shade. So there's the male, the missing male, that was hiding in the bushes, as I said. He's got up to go and join his mum and his brother. But he's been distracted by something. Is he limping quite badly? No, he's just walking strangely and sniffing the ground. Adrian just did this most silent sneeze of anyone I've ever heard, ever. It was beautifully controlled. Well done, Adrian. Very impressive. Bless you. A secret silent sneeze from the back. Oh, he's fine. I thought for a second he was walking quite stiffly, but actually he's just a cheetah. They do have quite an odd, quite stiff gait when they walk. Oh, you gotta go up the tree. Go up the tree. Come on, boy. Come on, go up the tree. It's not often we get to see cheetah climbing trees. They can do it. They're not very good at it, but they can do it. And it's usually the males that do it more often than the females. Ravinda, it's actually a conversation Adrian and I were having not so long ago, because Ravinda's wondering how many days a cheetah can survive without food. Come on, boy, up you go. Come on, be so cool. They have a particularly fast metabolism, and of course, there's something there that he wants. Their way of catching food is, of course, quite taxing. That high-speed chase. What is there? What have you found? It's so cat-like. There's something obviously scrabbling about in the bark that he really wants. So I would say that a cheetah could probably go for about a week before they are really seriously losing their strength. Apparently Nikki's sharp eyes and slightly larger screen, she says she saw a lizard shooting up into the branches of the tree. That's what he was after. Well done, Nix. Here you go, a little bit of family love in the shade. Those two boys are always giving each other a good grooming. What was I saying? Oh yes, for about a week, I would say, before they really start to struggle to actually be able to get the energy that they need in order to chase. I don't know exactly how long they would be able to last without food, though. Probably a fair amount longer than that, provided they had water. Most animals can last for quite a long time without food, and not very long without water, unless they're specially adapted to be able to do that. Unfortunately, I can't reposition now, just because there are a couple of vehicles we're going to block their view if we do, although they are tucked away in the shade. And unfortunately, actually, shortly we're going to have to leave them and start heading back. We've got a long way to go and quite a few meetings to get underway this afternoon. It's an interesting one, Anna-Marie. I think that if we were to take Malaika out of the equation, her boys would be absolutely fine. So I guess we could say that they are completely independent of her, in the sense that they could catch their own food and they could survive if they had to. How much they are depending on her, that is a different story. She's obviously the one that initiates the hunts. She's got the skill and the practice and the experience to conduct them successfully, which means that she takes on a fairly large role in terms of feeding the three of them. She also took on the main role, the leading role, when it came to chasing off the hyena, or trying to chase off the hyena a couple of nights ago. So how dependent on her are they? I guess they're not really dependent on her for food, but they still need her wisdom, or at least her wisdom is still appreciated, especially when it comes to making decisions as to where to go and avoiding lions. You know, you can imagine, these boys have always just followed along behind Mum. She's chosen which path to walk, which bushes to go around, which bushes to go through. I suppose they could end up making really bad decisions in their first few days without her, or their first few weeks without her. Chasing things they shouldn't be chasing, going where they shouldn't go. I don't know, it's hard for us to know, isn't it, exactly how much, or what they're getting out of their relationship with their mother now. Certainly the odd free meal. Almost to the point that I wondered if she wasn't waiting for them to go and catch something. She wasn't sort of refusing to hunt, because she let a few really, in my eyes, good opportunities pass her by. grommet safaris with Malaika growing old, and she is relatively old for a wild cheetah. She's 10 years old. Will this be her last litter, or do I think she'll have one more? I think that she'll probably end up having one more if she survives. I don't necessarily think that she's going to manage to raise them to adulthood. There are very few cases where cheetah over the age of 10, over a sort of mature age, have actually managed to successfully raise a litter of cubs to independence. It's hard enough for the young mothers. For the older mothers, even though they've got the backing of experience, their reflexes get just that little bit slower. Their hearing, their senses, their joints, everything, slows down a little bit. And to be a cheetah with a 90% mortality rate for cubs, it's a really very hard challenge to face. So yes, I think she'll probably end up having another litter. I don't know whether or not they will end up surviving. They have to beat the odds again and again. And Malaika she has once or twice. She's got 2 adult cubs out of 28. It's quite a scary thought, isn't it? 26 of the cubs that she's brought into this world haven't made it. It's really tragic. But it's the reality of a female cheetah. Either way, it is an interesting experience. Okay, we're going to bid farewell to Malaika for now. We'll join her again this afternoon. Let us send you across to Scott, who has found a very tiny chelonian.
We found a tiny little terrapin, and it's obviously on its way to another kind of little puddle or waterhole, because we found it out in the open here, and it's not uncommon to find them out in the open. You can see it's just keeping one beady eye on Ferg, who's filming. And interesting how it tilts its head sideways into the shell. Unlike tortoises, who often just pull their head straight back into the shell, this guy's kind of got like a bit of a side movement going on, which I find interesting. I'm not too sure if it's normal for terrapin. I've never had a close look at one like this before. But we want to leave it be, because it's clearly a little bit terrified by our presence here, and we don't want to keep it out in the open here for too long. So we'll let it continue with its mission to wherever it's going. And now that we kind of moved away from it, a bit of a size comparison, I've got little gypsy paws, so my hands are small. But it's small. I mean, it's only probably about 2 inches in diameter. Marvelous. Well, I'm glad that Malaika's second boy poked his head out of the bushes. Ferg and I were wondering what could have happened to him when initially we heard that there was just the one youngster with old Malaika. So that's good news. I'm wondering when they are actually going to leave her. They've been hanging around for quite some time. And what's interesting is that there was 2 sisters that actually left their mother's care and wisdom that are actually younger than Malaika's 2 boys. So interesting how different parents will raise their children differently, but I guess just like us as humans, it's very applicable with us, and everyone's kind of got their slightly own different thoughts and ideas as to what is right and what is wrong with regards to raising a youngster. So this is our fine little stretch of riverbed that we're checking out. No tracks yet. Smith, you'd like to know if all cats can climb trees? Yes, but with varying levels of skill and ability. Leopards are by far the best of the 3 big cats of Africa when it comes to climbing. Lions probably second, and last on the list are cheetah. And the reason why cheetah are last on the list is because their anatomy is quite different to lion and leopard. Their claws aren't as sharp, and therefore don't provide much help when it comes to clambering up trees. Lions can kind of do it. They don't do it well, and they're not as glamorous. Oh, here's a robber fly. Just on this, I'll get on the other side of it, Ferg. Oh, off it goes. It looks like 2 of them are actually having a territorial fight. They do like to perch themselves in set spots where they then ambush their prey from, but this one keeps flying away. Is it going to sit still? No. But these robber flies are incredibly good predators, and they will catch their prey on the wing. They've got very spiny legs that they kind of tackle their prey with. There's so many of them here, but they're not sitting still. Let's see if this one sits still. It's between you and me now, Ferg. Oh, no, it's not going to work, so we're going to send you off to Noel in the meantime.
Hi everyone, alright, we have left our very energy efficient mating lions, as you know, and we are now on the search for something else, and we've bumped the rare and unusual lesser spotted Scott Dyson, who I believe was telling you about robber flies. Look, there he is! It's amazing! Here he is!
Hello.
Hello!
How are you?
It's so unusual
Yes,
to bump into you here.
it is.
I'm Noelle.
Thanks, nice to meet
Nice,
you.
so nice to meet you.
car.
Oh my goodness.
Howdy.
How are you? So this is an unusual surprise. I joke. We usually manage to work different areas, but obviously Scott didn't know that I had chosen this way to come after we left our lions. So I'm assuming.
Been spying on you the whole
Have you been
morning.
spying on me the whole morning? They've been lurking in the bushes. Is there something? Is there an update of any tracks you would like me to follow on? Yeah, I also look for
Unless
Tandy.
you would like to track a small terrapin.
We could track a
He's
small
heading east.
terrapin. We could do that. He's heading east. I'm sure it is a very slow way. I didn't pick up anything for Tundi, hey? Nothing for Tundi yet, guys. I think she's still busy that way, in that horrible block.
Alrighty. Well,
Okay.
good luck for the last few
Thanks.
minutes. See
Thanks.
you later, everyone.
All right. Cheers. Enjoy. And then we've got Rexon as well. Hello, Rex. The dangerous Rexon. Keeping an eye on everyone, keeping them safe. Be good, everybody. Be safe. Be safe. All right. And let's carry on. Mr. Q-Tip, good question. You want to know how come we don't really see caracal or serval or African wildcat, some of our other smaller cat species? One is they're very elusive, they're very difficult to see, it's not something you see often. Two, the times that we operate for drive in the summertime, we need to be out at sort of like 10 o'clock at night, which is not a normal drive time, whether you're at a lodge or for our show. Our show operates during what you would call the normal safari hours. And then you also have to have a larger abundance of them to see them more often. And because our lion and leopard populations are in their peak, they're not in their valley, and they're also breeding quite nicely, that means that smaller species like jackal, caracal, serval, African wildcat, as well as things like aardvark are less in number because there's been such a large populations of lions, including small ones around, that actually affect those smaller predator populations. It's one of the main reasons. Excuse me. Now when the lions valley, then those other ones will start coming up. It's very similar to what happens with the cheetah population in relation to the lion and leopard population. Also, young leopards will act in a similar manner as young lions, and something that is smaller than them and easier to catch, they will also catch and kill. I knew a young leopard that was about 2-3 years old, and she routinely would catch jackal. We had in a month, she caught 6 jackal. And she ate them a little bit, but mostly she just caught them and put them up into trees. So that definitely is a reason why. Then in the winter time, winter can sometimes be an easier time to see them. One, the vegetation's not as thick, and two, because it gets cooler earlier, you tend to see them out and about. But also something like an African wildcat. We found tracks of African wildcats and caracal and serval on the property, but you need a little bit. They're very shy. They're not as easily habituated, and you need a little bit more activity with some of the species that they go after. So for instance, African wildcat really likes rodents, and rodents will move during the day, but they also move a lot at night, and so that cat is more comfortable coming out at night, more of the dead of night as well. So those are a few reasons as to why we don't see them as much. I haven't seen a serval in about 2 years, and I'm on game drive every single day. Just to give you an example. And last caracal I saw was maybe 8 months ago, so it's not the most common. Okay, we're gonna go head over a little bit more to the west, and I think while I am busy just driving around, let's head over to James Hendry, who is also just driving around, and see what he has to say.
I am driving around, doing my best still to find interesting creatures as we go along. I think one of the main reasons we don't see those small cats is the number of leopards we have here. And I don't know if Noelle said that, she probably did. But leopards, of course, eat other predators, probably more frequently than most of the other predators eat other predators. And so I think that's why you'll find we don't see quite so many, and why they keep a much lower profile than they would in a place like the Mara. Servals especially, they like those grasslands, but there's nothing wrong with this habitat for them here. But in the face of the pressure exerted by the number of leopard we have here, I think that's why we don't see as many serval as you might in the Masai Mara, and likewise caracal. Caracal have a sort of quite strong overlap with or dietary overlap with leopards. They won't take things as big as impala, or very seldom, but they will take steenbok, and they will take duiker, they will take scrub hares, and those sorts of things, which of course the leopard also like to take. And so I think you'll find, combined with the competition, I think you'll find, if you combine the competition, of course, with the pressure exerted by the number of leopards, well, that's why you're going to find so few of them. So we have the sky cam up now, you can see. Now, what's interesting is that we've managed to, well, by mistake, get a whole lot of information on the screen, which is possibly irritating if we're looking at animals, but quite interesting while we're just flying. So I'll tell you what it means. Obviously, that central V thing is the angle at which the sky cam is flying. If you go to the bottom left-hand corner, H 57.5 meters, that means it's 57.5 meters high at the moment. The distance there, you can see 753 meters. That's not how far it is away from us. That's as far as we've flown since Treehouse Dam. Altitude 354. No, that can't be right. I don't know what that AZ is. Yeah. I wondered if that wasn't from sea level, but I don't think it is. Anyway, and then the HS, I think that's the wind speed, at least the air speed, and that is 6.7 meters per second. And that's basically the information, which is quite interesting, I think. Yes, it's the ground speed, horizontal speed, yeah. It's the ground speed.
At which it's the speed at which I'm playing the drums.
Yeah.
So now, for example, if I'm flying fast, you can see it's resumed.
See, now you can see, well, can we go back to the drone and we'll just show you the speed that it can go. Now we're doing 18.3 meters per second, which my small brain is unable to convert to kilometers per hour straight away. 65 kilometers per hour, which is roughly 45 or so miles per hour. That's the maximum speed that Marvin is able to fly. That's quite cool. Right, isn't that nice? We're going to just nip up onto quarantine, see what else we can find up there. And Brent Leo Smith is now also preparing for television, of course, much the same as Jamie is. They're getting into their characters, and Brent, I believe, has just managed to find his characters, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Cheetah Musketeers.
All the usual spots, and we have finally found the 5 boys in an area I have never been before. I've been to the left of it, I've been to the right of it. There's a massive section that has been closed off from roads, and I decided, I went to where they last were, and I said, let me think like a cheetah, which basically meant I drove from gardenia tree to gardenia tree till we found them. It looks like they caught something this morning. I can see a bit of blood in the paw. There we go. Nothing massive, so they are still, they're reasonably well fed, so nothing huge that they caught. Probably not an adult topi or an adult hartebeest, something smaller, maybe a Grant's gazelle or an impala, but we have found them, which is great news. And I'm very, very happy. I was starting to get a bit worried about this afternoon and tonight, and still panicking and trying to find where they were. And of course we're going to be following them from now till the end of the TV, so it's very nice to know where they are. They're actually quite close to camp. Djuma is asking, are there animals that age like dogs by 7 years and then die? Djuma, well, the concept of dog years is a human thing, trying to sort of put a human growth sort of spectrum onto an animal. So I actually have no idea. A dog ages in human years as well as dog years, but it's just a way that people use to try sort of compare the aging process between human beings and animals, but not that I know of. I mean, that I'm afraid. Interesting question, though. So what I am going to do, now that we've found the boys, is I'm going to let the cheetah researchers know, because that's a little bit of a nice one for us, because they're going to sit here all day, and especially because it's an area that there are no roads. So one of the researchers is recording a lot of audio that they make at the moment with a very big microphone. So of course for her sometimes it's quite difficult because there are lots of cars around them, but the cars are not allowed here. They're not allowed to off-road, so she should be able to get some very good audio, and she's looking for little bits of audio that aren't normal, not the ones you normally hear when they're fighting or whatnot, little purring or little chirps between the individuals. I think they're gonna play the sun game with this gardenia tree, following the shade around because there's not much other shade anywhere. Okay. Well, I'm going to get hold of the cheetah researchers and let them know exactly where they are. While we do that, there we go, shade game. Let's move deeper into the shade as it creeps. I'm going to send you back. I'm afraid I didn't hear to who, but someone out there in the African wilderness.
It's me in the middle of double crossing with something sweet to leave you with warm and fuzzy feelings for the rest of the day. Tiny, tiny, tiny little baby baboon, still too young to even ride on mum's back, dangling from her belly. How on earth they managed to grip and stay on, I do not know. They somehow managed to attach themselves to their mum's fur as the baboons are foraging through this area, eating, would you believe it, flay ink flowers. Those little white flowers that we see everywhere in the Mara. They're fascinating. Just something very sweet to show you for your morning. But I don't want to keep you away from Brent and his accomplished mission. Off you go back across to finish the morning with the Musketeers.
Welcome back. Well, in not too long, I think Craig and I are going to do exactly what the Musketeers are doing right now, as we are going to be following them day and night over the next 7 or 8 days. And, well, fortunately for us, they've had a bit of a meal today, so nothing big. I think they still will hunt later again, or tonight, or early tomorrow morning, but that little meal means they're going to not move from the spot for most of the day, which is very good news for us when it terms coming to follow them. Gives us a chance to have a little rest as well. And I'm hoping Malaika behaves with Jamie, and of course it's going to be very exciting. I wonder what Madam McCurdy is going to be sitting with this afternoon. Hopefully a lovely pride of lions full of cubs. And of course, I nearly forgot, today is Hosanna and Shongile's birthday. Anna-Marie loves my hat. Thank you very much, Anna-Marie. It's very comfortable and definitely gives me more protection from the sun than a cap. But yes, Hosanna, happy birthday, Hosanna and Shongile. Can you believe it was 2 years ago today that we found them in that den after they'd just been born? So we have had some very special times, and hopefully we're going to have some more special times coming up with all the different big cats and other characters. But I must say that hyena hunt this morning was absolutely spectacular. Hopefully we get lots of wonderful things on the Sunset Safari. So from all of us here at Safari Live and 5 lazy cheetah boys, adieu, bon nuit, au revoir, see you later.